Delicious.
Welcome to Grindhouse Funhouse 31 Days of Horror. Tonight's spooky pick, From Beyond. It's about a pair of scientists who attempts to stimulate the sleeping pineal gland in the human brain with a device called the Resonator, with the unforeseen result of discovering a gateway to another more terrifying dimension, filled with floating eels and giant fleshy bug monsters. The main scientist guy, who craves knowledge and kinkiness, is killed by those creatures and dragged into their world, which results in his assistant being suspected of his death and taken to a mental institution. In comes Dr. McMichaels to see the assistant named Crawford and believes his story and has him scanned in order to discover that his pineal gland has been enlarged. So, under police escort, they go back to the house to investigate the machine and try to recreate the experiment. And by doing so, brings back the main scientist guy, who is now a grotesque, shape-changing, sexual deviant monster that fucks with them. Wackiness ensues. When I reviewed Suitable Flesh back in July, link in the description, and is available to be seen in theaters right now and on VOD. The fact that Suitable Flesh is a tribute to Stuart Gordon and the back-to-back H.P. Lovecraft movies he did in the mid-80s, with 1985's Reanimator and From Beyond a year later, I knew it was going to be a pick for my 31 Days of Horror challenge. Here's what I like about it. Barbara Crampton is the one who steals the whole thing. In Reanimator, it was the Jeffrey Combs show, but here the roles are reversed and she's the one that shines the brightest. Stuart Gordon put her through a lot in those movies, dealing with a lot of unsavory things, a lot of it involving blood and goop and God knows what else. Here, for example, she's being groped by a lump of flesh with hot dog sausages for fingers. What a trooper. I like her character arc from being put in big glasses, looking all prim and proper at first, then sliding into being a knowledge junkie wanting to learn about that world, which gets her juices flowing to the point where she has to put on a dominatrix outfit, to finally going full crazy by the end. Jeffrey Combs, always reliable, playing the oddballs to perfection, playing here the assistant Dr. Crawford Tillinghast, to main scientist guy Dr. Edward Pretorius, played by Ken Sorel in all his hairy glory. Watching Crawford going through having to clear his name, to going bald by fighting one of the monsters, to having his tiny dick-looking pineal gland spring out of his forehead, through having to suck out the brain out of people's eye holes to sustain himself. Also an arc worth watching. Can't forget Ken Foree playing Detective Bubba Brownlee, who loves wearing Speedos and will sadly depart this mortal coil with tiny little arms. Basically, what Stuart Gordon and his collaborators, writer Dennis Paholi and producer Brian Usda, did here is going from grisly medical violence in Reanimator to a slimy cosmic body horror mystery largely set in a house with a neon pink interdimensional realm dripping in goop in From Beyond, which just now made me wonder how big of a budget they had for KY jelly on this production. It had to be a lot. It's less bloody and more slimy, which makes it even more disgusting somehow. Obviously, lots of gore. I like the rubbery look of those monsters. The kind of practical effects where you had to be really creative to stretch the little money you had in your budget to make things like these monsters happen, and did a very good job. From Beyond grabs our attention by being an interesting mystery of what the scientists are actually up to. The idea that you could flip a switch on a machine called a Resonator to connect to this other dimension and just turn it back off when things get out of hand, but will obviously have consequences for doing so, and to play around with things we don't understand always comes back to bite you on the ass, or in this case, rips your head off. Is a good starting point, but I feel like the plot doesn't really get anywhere and it just kind of turns into a bunch of sequences of gross and crazy shit, which I'm always down for, but I feel more could have been done here. I don't love it, I don't hate it, it was just okay. Would a second viewing change my views on From Beyond? Possibly, but I have so many more movies to go through that this could be a one and done for me. But I still say check it out if you like to be grossed out. Links to streaming or purchasing From Beyond are available in the description below. Let me know your thoughts on From Beyond and come back tomorrow for another 31 Days of Horror spooky pick.
This guy was into some weird shit.